Debbie's Back Porch. So glad to have you. Today we're going to make bechamel sauce. And this is something that you would never eat on its own. It is just an ingredient for making other things, but oh my, it's such a wonderful, versatile ingredient. Everybody should know how to make a bechamel. Here are your ingredients. And hey, if you like our video, if you find it useful, please like and subscribe. A bechamel sauce is one of the 5 French mother sauces, meaning they are the basis of other things. The ingredients are a stick of butter, a cup of flour, those are even proportions by volume, and some salt. We'll also add some pepper. I'll have milk too, and I'll talk about proportions later. This is called a piquet, and it is just a flavoring element. It's a piece of onion, a bay leaf, and a couple cloves. Actually 3 is what's called for. I'm using 2. And you just sort of stick the cloves in to hold the bay leaf. I also have some fresh nutmeg here, which I will grate in. You can use powdered, but fresh is better. And we will start cooking. I'll show you and talk to you about proportions as we go along, because what I'm making here is basically a double batch. Your choice of pan is important. You need a heavy pan because this could easily scorch and that would ruin the whole thing and you'd have to start over. I'm using enameled cast iron. You can use stainless steel. I don't use metal pan and utensils. Those are things that can impart color to your white sauce. And the appearance here is important. We want to keep this very white, very light, because as I said, it's just an ingredient for other things. And you don't want to carry that color over to your other things. So if you're using a metal pan, you want to use non-metal utensils. And with this enameled cast iron, I can use any utensils I want, even though I usually use silicone whisk. I see lots of chefs do it the other way, metal and metal, but Miss Yarborough and Home Ec taught me that, and it's always held true. Another very important element is the heat. We're going to do this whole thing on medium-low heat. And when you get more practiced with it, you may do it at a little bit higher heat when you're sure you're not going to scorch it. But we're in no hurry. This is an important element, and we're going to practice patience. We do not want to scorch. My butter is melted and the foam is starting to break up, so I'm going to add the flour. Equal proportions, half cup butter, half cup flour. Making a bechamel is done by proportions, so you can easily increase or decrease your final product as long as you keep the proportions the same. So half cup flour, half cup butter adds up to a cup. Multiply that by 4, you get 4 cups. That's your milk. You can easily use quarter cup, and a pint. As long as you keep the proportions the same, you're going to get the same results. And that's what you want, is the same results every time. So I'm whisking this in. And we're going to whisk it until we get a good little sizzle on this medium-low heat so we don't scorch. But we do want to cook away the raw flour taste. And you can tell this partly by the smell. You start to get a little nutty smell. But we don't want to impart any color. This is a white sauce. If this were going to be brown gravy, you would cook it until it turned brown. But for right now, we're protecting the light color. We'll let this sizzle for about a minute, long enough to let the butter and flour cook together and to cook off the raw flour taste. And then we're going to add our flavorings, or some of them. Just thrown in a little salt, which I did really quickly and you may not have seen. And I'm using pepper, and I'm using black pepper. Lots of folks swear by white pepper, mostly I think because of the color. Little black pepper I don't find does much with the color. And then I'm going to grate in a little fresh nutmeg. Can't tell you how much, just a little. Don't overdo, and use fresh nutmeg if you can. I've recently switched over to fresh nutmeg, and oh yes, I recommend. Now we're going to do the step that some folks dread. We're going to add the liquid. I promise if you do it this way, you won't have lumps. I'm adding cold milk. The rule, as far as I'm concerned, is hot roux, cold milk. Some folks do it differently. This always works. And back to Miss Yarborough, she told me it would, and it did. So I add in a little bit and I stir it, and it thickens when you add the liquid. And you might actually get a really thick mixture here. Don't worry about it. Just slowly, gradually add in your liquid and whisk, whisk, whisk. And your browned or your cooked roux is going to incorporate the milk in without lumps, as long as your milk is cold and you whisk it. So don't get discouraged and don't be afraid. I'm adding this in. You can add larger amounts as you go along. You start with a little and then a little more, and then you get to a point where you can dump it all in. And this is going to look very thin to you, but it'll be fine, I promise. So after we get all the milk in, I'm going to add the piquet. This is actually optional, but it is traditional. It doesn't stay in long. It is only there to impart a little flavor. Go ahead and try it once. It tastes great. I'm letting this simmer now for 15-20 minutes, maybe even 30 depending on your heat, and it's better not to get in too big a hurry. I left the piquet in about 10 minutes. I'm going to take it out, mainly because eventually this is going to become macaroni and cheese, and I don't want that much onion flavor in there. You want to whisk pretty often, and at least once you want to test for salt and flavorings. You may need some more salt. You might add more pepper. This one is fine. So what are the other French mother sauces? There's velouté, hollandaise, tomate, and espagnole, and we'll do them all eventually. Well, it's been about 15 minutes, and it's getting thick and creamy. It's a bechamel. You can check it on the back of your spoon, and you need to stir it pretty often, because you see around the edges it gets a little thicker around the edges. So be sure you scrape that down and then whisk, 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 so you don't have the appearance of lumps. And that will whisk right out. We've got a lovely silky texture here. Not a lot of flavor. Bechamel is an ingredient, not a final product. And once you master the French mother sauces, you can make almost anything. This is the final product. See the texture. This can be used as the basis of the best macaroni and cheese in the world. Broccoli au gratin, cauliflower au gratin, scalloped potatoes, lasagna. Even some pastries use bechamel as the main ingredient. So give this a shot. You can master this easily. And thank you for joining us on Debbie's Back Porch. Tomorrow, Mornay sauce.